Well, here I am back in Athens, Georgia, right off campus at UGA, and I'm standing in front of this beautiful barn where the Ranger Nick series originally started. We did our very first segment almost 6 years ago on owl boxes, and I want to show you a box today of another type, a tiny house box, and how University of Georgia students are involved in not only building this, but making decisions about this unit and how this is being used in agriculture all over Georgia. Let me introduce you to a friend who's inside. Come on. Oh, hey, Kim. Good to see you again. Everybody, Dr. Kim Scoba. She is a rural development specialist with a specialty in housing, and Kim has been intimately involved in getting this place built with students. Now, word on the street is students were heavily involved in getting this done. Dr. Scoba, how does that work with college students at UGA doing this? Nothing against them, but I couldn't do this. How do they do it?
Right, well, they really did build from the ground or trailer up, and so every piece of this house has been touched by a student, and so, but they didn't come in knowing really much of anything. Most of the students didn't have any skills, and so we started off pretty simple basic skills.
And how does this begin? Is this with balsa wood or note cards, or how did they learn to go from something small to this?
Right, well, we discovered after the first class, the first time we taught the class, that students really didn't have really much, if any, knowledge about tool use and even just sort of measuring and cutting. And so we developed a project building bluebird houses. And so we had all of the students build their own bluebird house. And we found that project really gave them the skills to launch their ability to work on this house.
And probably put a feather in their cap, no pun intended, to be able to work in a team and think critically to do these kinds of things. From cutting wood to putting things together, incredible stuff. What I think we need to do is I want to talk specifically about some of the features of this place, how students were involved in maybe putting things like this and the lights and other things in, and I want to introduce the folks at home to another friend of mine that was intimately involved in this as well. So let's go there next. So we learned what students have been involved with in terms of putting this tiny house together and the decisions that were made, but I want to introduce you to a gentleman that knows a thing or two about the special features of this place, and that happens to be David Burley. David, good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Nick.
I appreciate you being out here with me today. David's got a passion for tiny houses, and so David, the beauty that's inside of this place right now, I'm looking at this beautiful wood and how this place looks. How did you all get this wood? What is this stuff?
So all the wood on the inside of the house came from trees that fell down in storms right before, or actually up a year or so before the house was built. And we picked hickory trees. There was a hickory tree that fell, and that's what makes up the floor. It's tongue and groove, variable width flooring. The walls, you see the real pretty walls, is actually poplar, and that was from a poplar tree that fell down on the site. And it's the gap between, it's called nickel gap, tongue and groove, so it's kind of made to look specifically that way. And then the rafters up above are from a white oak tree that had fallen on the property.
Right here at the U Garden?
Yeah, all just right out here in this field, right outside from the tiny house.
We talk about reusing and repurposing, and what a beautiful story there. Now, other features besides the beautiful wood, I'm thinking about the water here. Y'all are not hooked up with water right now?
Not currently, no.
Okay, but typically a tiny house would be plugged in to a campground or something, is that right, and get water that way?
Well, there's different ways. You know, the actual plumbing is pretty standard, but the water source, instead of it coming from a city water and through a copper pipe up to to your house, it basically, you plumb it so that you can hook a hose up to it. So they use like a sanitary hose. And if you were at an RV park, you would hook up to the hose there. If you're on a farm, you hook up to a hose on your farm with a well or water source nearby.
Now, Kim, I'm looking at the wheels on the outside of this guy. This house is staying here. The other houses that have been built, where have they ended up? How have they benefited ag?
Yeah, so the first two houses that we built were in partnership with Georgia Organics, and so the two homes went to small organic farms, and they served the role as providing farm worker or farm manager housing or summer interns. So they filled that gap. Oftentimes, just as small towns, rural communities might not have housing available for everybody. That's a problem that small farms face too. And so these homes would fill that gap.
Incredible story. Kim, thanks so much for spending time with me today. I hope you all are seeing the benefits for students and the public and for ag by a dwelling like this. Incredible. Y'all know what to do. when you're online watching other YouTube videos of the Ranger Nick segments, take a look around and see what I've got going on Facebook. Check me out there. And until next time, Kim, as we always say, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you when we get back together again next month. See ya.